And welcome to Speak for Yourself. Marcellus Wiley here, back from vacation. Emmanuel Acho is off today. So yeah, y'all got that right. Vacation and off day. That's Acho. But let's get it started with the Patriots, who won their third and final preseason game over the Giants Sunday night. Cam Newton was 2 for 5 with an interception in his 2 drives to start the game. Mac Jones came in after, played through the third quarter, throwing for 156 yards and a touchdown. No news may be good news for Cam Newton, though, as Bill Belichick is still refusing to name a Week 1 starter. Take a listen.
Have you made a decision on who will start at quarterback in the regular season opener?
Yeah, no, we still have a lot of decisions to make.
What are you hoping to see in the next couple weeks of practice, Bill, before that first game from the quarterback position to help you make that decision whenever the time comes?
Yeah, well, we'll be focused on preparing for Miami, so that's what we'll do.
Man, I'm going to host the show. My Belichick boys today join Fox NFL analyst Bucky Brooks and Greg Jennings. So, Bucky, has Cam Newton made you a believer this preseason?
I mean, I've always been a big believer in Cam, and I think he's one of the best players to ever play the game. However, I think Mac Jones is going to be the guy that the Patriots lean on. And the reason why is because I believe they have a deja vu feeling when they see Mac Jones under center. They have seen this offense run a certain way for the last 20 years when they had Tom Brady, and I believe there's a comfort to that. When I look at the way this team is constructed, powerful offensive line, big-time running back, I mean, a deep, talented stable of running back, and a defense that looks like it can play at a lights-out level. The only thing they need is the quarterback to be a game manager, meaning make good decisions, get the ball to the playmakers, and allow them to work. I saw this formula work in the early 2000s when the Patriots won 3 out of 4 Super Bowls. I believe they believe that this is the best way for them to get back to being a team that is a perennial contender.
Disagree with you, Bucky, right here. Look, Cam Newton, big believer in Cam Newton. This preseason, Cam Newton had a good preseason. Mac Jones had a great preseason. What did that do? That allowed him to close the gap on Cam Newton, but still not trump Cam Newton in terms of being a starter for this team. Let's talk about this situation, and let's be real about it. Since Mac Jones is now good, we're going to make the Patriots situation seem bad. Why? Because we have a high insurance net. We have a high safety net in Mac Jones, who is now a starter type kind of player, but at the same time, not the one that's going to take over for the Patriots. So since he's so close to Cam Newton, now we want to make this controversial. Now we want to look at this situation differently instead of just the way it was, the way that Bill Belichick said it. Cam Newton is our starter. Must I continue to always state that when you know that Cam Newton is our starter? But we now have a great situation in terms of 2 quarterbacks that we can trust, 2 quarterbacks that we can count on, and 2 quarterbacks that will be in contention when we go out there Week 1. But it's still Cam Newton as the starter. Why? Because the Patriots like to run the football. It's built on running the football and playing proper defense. Now, if you have a quarterback back there that's not mobile, is that going to help you run the football? Don't forget about Cam Newton last year and having his 12 rushing touchdowns. That comes into play on top of him still being an accurate passer of the football. You add all that up and the second year in a system in terms of maturity, in terms of continuity, in terms of understanding, it's Cam Newton's job, and he's going to be the starter Week 1.
Yeah, it's not that I'm not a believer in Cam Newton. However, this offseason and this preseason, he's presented opportunity for a player in Mac Jones to literally put into question whether or not he is your outright guy. And you have to be mindful of that. But the thing that I agree with you with, Marcellus, is Cam Newton is just your guy because of all of that he provides in the run game and in the passing game. Now, last year, I was hard on Cam Newton, and because of the tape showed he wasn't good in the passing game. It even looked and appeared that he possibly was still injured. This preseason, he's looked good when he was asked to throw the ball. We know what he can do running the football. He's run the offense well. He spent time in the offseason. All those questions that were questioned last year, that were concerns that were brought up as why Cam Newton wasn't successful or having the success that we thought he could continue having pre the COVID situation last year, he erased them with his performance. Now, Mac Jones has had a great preseason, but he hasn't shown enough to where he has just outright sold to this Patriots team or to myself that he is just your guy, no questions asked. There's a couple other things that I think we have to weigh. Well, we don't have to weigh them. I think Bill Belichick is weighing the mindset. If you start Mac Jones, what does that do to the psyche of Cam Newton? Do you still have him moving forward? If anything were to happen to Mac Jones, if barring injury, do you still have Cam Newton all in on what we're trying to accomplish because he was not outright your starter? If you have Cam Newton, you know you have Mac Jones to go to if anything were to happen. So I think you have to start with Cam Newton because he doesn't present any reason for you not to.
Oh, I mean, if you want to get better. So, like, here's the thing, and this is what I do. And I hate to take it behind the scenes, but here's what happens in front offices. And I know you guys hate front office guys. So what happens, we got a young Greg Jennings, we have a young Marcellus Wiley, and we're looking at the young guys going against the vet. And what happens if it's close, the tie goes to the younger guy. So now in New England, here's what you have. Hey, we can start the clock with this rookie quarterback. He's a first-round pick. If we start him, we get a jump start on what we believe is our Super Bowl window with a rookie quarterback in place. And I like Cam, but Cam hasn't separated himself from Mac Jones. So now if you're Bill Belichick and you're the front office staffers, you're beginning to squint and you're seeing a path for this team to still be a Super Bowl team with the young guy getting valuable reps. And so because of that, I think Cam Newton opened the door. And once that door is cracked, I feel like Mac Jones has burst through. And now the Patriots coaching staff is trying to figure out, when do we start this clock? Because what you guys are talking about is, well, we don't want to hurt Cam's feelings if we sit him down. And, you know, how is he going to handle this or whatever? But this isn't youth football. This isn't Pop Warner. This is the big boys game. And because it's close, if they feel like Mac Jones gives them a chance to win, I think you got to start the young guy. Go ahead and get it going right now with the young guy on the center.
Nah, Buck, you ain't going to try and lump us together. One, Greg and I didn't totally agree on that conversation. I'm going to get to the psyche layer of what Greg was talking about in a second. But, Bucky, you can't just come out here and say it's deja vu in terms of the Tom Brady success and that model, and now they see it in Mac Jones. For whatever reason, the variables were different for Tom Brady, but he didn't start year one under Belichick in that system. Now, obviously, he had a $100 million man in front of him in Drew Bledsoe, who wasn't winning a ton of games at that time, but still was Drew Bledsoe. So it's different variables. But sitting Tom Brady and then allowing him to learn that system obviously proved dividends. Let's talk about this situation in terms of psyche, because I'm not with Greg in terms of psyche and taking care of Cam Newton. Cam Newton is on a one-year deal. He's on a prove-it deal. We've all been there before or seen teammates that are on prove-it deals. They're on their best behavior. No matter what you do to them, they will respond properly because he is trying to resurrect not only his NFL life, but his chances as a starter going elsewhere because he knows the writing's on the wall. This is Mac Jones' team going forward. So I'm not with him there. I'm just saying Cam Newton's a better playmaker right now for your team. Cam Newton's a better quarterback, ever so slightly, but a better quarterback right now than Mac Jones. If you look at two things about their counting numbers and their stats that jumps out to me, it's not so much the completions and attempts, because you see Mac Jones was out there 17 drives versus Cam Newton. But then if you look at how many times they were sacked, Cam Newton wasn't sacked at all. And Mac Jones was sacked 5 times. This is a good New England Patriots offensive line that is known for its run blocking. So that allows Cam Newton to be a better playmaker in part with the run offense. But in passing situations, you know how it goes. The speed of the game is just different from the collegiate level to the pro level, and certainly from the preseason to the regular season. Right now, Mac Jones is looking good as a rookie, but still not seeing it at the same speed as a veteran. So you add all that up, the playmaking ability, the continuity in the system, the fact that this offense is built with its offensive line to run the football. All of those are assets for Cam Newton more so than Mac Jones.
Yeah, I want to focus on the preseason and the level of play that these guys have both went up against. It's not what Cam has seen in over his career, as Marcellus is alluding to, playing as a starter in the National Football League, in regular season games, in the playoffs, and so on and so forth. Mac Jones, it's different under the lights. And you both have played under the lights. When those lights get bright, we see guys fold. We see guys stand up, chest proud, ready to ride. We don't know that. That is an unknown. Yes, you would like to believe that Mac Jones has that factor that to rise to the occasion, but we know Cam does. We know for certain Cam has that. So why would we even question? Why would we even try to jeopardize a game, if not two games, a quarter? Bill Belichick is all about doing your job and putting the best 11 that gives us a chance to win on the field at all times. In this moment, right here out the gate, they may be very well close in the race. But if Cam Newton has won the race, he's won the race. Either it's a tie and we just flip a coin, or Cam Newton has won or Mac Jones has won. And right now, Cam Newton has won. If he were given the same opportunity under the same experience or the same timetable, the same amount of drives with the same personnel, yes, it's Cam Newton. And you have to be able to rely on experience when you're talking about week one, because there's going to be a lot of things that are thrown at you that you have not seen in the preseason when we're talking about week one football.
Hey, look, Greg, I think that's a great point. I think it's a great point. You talk about the difference in speed between preseason and regular season and those things. But to Marcellus's point about the Drew Bledsoe situation and Tom Brady, let me remind you, Drew Bledsoe left the door open. It wasn't his fault that Mo Lewis knocked him into next week and put him on the sideline, and Tom Brady got a chance to drive the offense, and Bill Belichick got a chance to see what the offense looked like, and he liked it so much that he kept Tom Brady in as the starter when Drew Bledsoe returned. This reminds me of a situation when Cam had to sit out those 5 days for COVID, and they got a chance to see Mac Jones, not only in practice and in joint practices against the Giants, but then in the game, they saw him perform well. And it reminds us, remember, because we all got old, and we all had that situation where we were about to run on the field, and the coach grabbed us and said, "Oh, wait. Let me see this. Let me see this rotation right quick. Let me see young fella in here with the rotation." When they start doing that, your days are numbered. So look, the clock might not dwindle before regular season game one, but it's ticking, and Mac Jones is going to take over the tune sooner rather than later.
Nah, don't try and now qualify it sooner rather than later. First it was week one, now it's like sooner rather than later. look at you. You starting to back up. I hear the beeps in the background. Beep, beep.
No,
Bucky.
no. Mac Jones.
Mac Jones? No way. Look, Bill Belichick by nature is conservative, right? Cam Newton went out there, only had 7 drives with the starters, and then Mac Jones was playing 17 drives with the backups. And I told you before, Mac Jones got sacked 5 times. Who got the doorbell? Somebody got that money? That's that rich. Somebody, Greg, yeah. You're on your 4th or 5th story, and you can't get to the door. Greg got that money. Helicopter money. Go ahead and get that Amazon. Pick it up. But back to this point. Bill Belichick's conservative by nature. He's not playing his starters, but he's letting his backups go out there and show and prove. 17 drives versus 7 drives. Okay, 5 sacks for Mac Jones versus 0 for Cam. Here's the kickers, these last 2. How many touchdowns thrown by both guys, despite having different levels in terms of pass attempts? 1 touchdown for Mac Jones, 1 touchdown for Cam Newton. Think about that. 17 drives, you get double the work, almost triple the work to me, and you only got 1 touchdown, and I have 1 touchdown. And more importantly, Cam Newton didn't have 1 rush attempt this entire preseason. Wait a minute. So we're being conservative with him. We're not letting him use his strong suit, at least last year it was, which is running the football. And he has the same amount of passing touchdowns as his backup. Look, Mac Jones is out there balling. He's playing well, but just not well enough.
Look, Bucky, you continue to talk about the door being open. And yes, we can compare it to the Drew Bledsoe, the Tom Brady situation, but there is truly no comparison when you talk about the situation. Like, we saw Tom Brady, Bill Belichick saw Tom Brady in a game, a meaningful game, that he's proved he could run this offense and it still looked great. He wasn't shaken. There was poise in the regular season when it mattered most. This is not what we can compare when it comes to Mac Jones. All the reports are going to be, oh, he looked great in joint practice against the Giants. come on, this late in the preseason, how hard are we really going in preseason? Matter of fact, in training camp practices, guys are sore. There's a lot of guys removed for practice. There's not really that ones against ones. We don't see that often. We typically see ones versus twos. So let's be real. Yes, he's going to look good. Yes, he's going to be put in situations where he can get rid of the ball, and he's going to allow the offense to progress and look like they have a scheme that really works against the New York Football Giants. But let's not mistake it for Sunday and light on Monday night or Thursday night football. This is completely different. And when you are going into a game, week 1, against a divisional opponent, an opponent that, yes, Bill Belichick wants to beat. Why? Because there's relationship. There's some tension there with a coach that wants to win against Bill Belichick, that Bill Belichick wants to fend off. And let's not forget Bill Belichick's record against rookie quarterback starters. Why would he put himself in the position now to have a rookie starting and not exposing him to his entire playbook and being up at his most comfort level when it comes to offensive plays? You're not going to do that. Cam Newton has been here. Marcellus, you talked about this all last year.
Yes,
and
sir.
I wasn't trying to hear it because I wasn't defending Cam in that moment. But he wasn't there all last year. He's been there all year, all off season. He missed those days. Yes, opportunity presented itself for Mac Jones, but it wasn't enough. And it hasn't enough to erase what they've seen all off season, the rapport, the camaraderie, all the time vested that Cam put in. He deserves and he has earned the right to be the starter.
See, I think you guys are missing out on my point. My point was, this is deja vu. They've seen this before. And the reason why I tell you they've seen this before is because they saw Tom Brady do the same thing. And I'm not saying that Mac Jones is Tom Brady, but I'm going to give you some numbers because I know you guys like facts over feelings. So here's what I'm going to say. Tom Brady, when he was a starting quarterback, Tom Brady only averaged 189.5 passing yards that first year when they went 11-3. His passer rating was only 80.5. We don't think Mac Jones can put up that kind of pedestrian production at passer. I mean, we saw Cam Newton do that last year, but the difference is the team is better. Elite offensive line, much better defense, running game is stable. Bill Belichick knows, hey, I don't have to put it all on the young fella. The only thing I need the young fella to do is not turn the ball over. We've already said Mac Jones is accurate, he's efficient, he's effective, and soon he's going to be the Patriots starter. Don't be mad, Marcellus. Don't be mad. Mac Jones is the starter.
Nah. The Pats have it good, and you trying to spin it to make it a bad situation. He's going to have to wait his turn, just like Tom Brady. You're right. Deja vu in that sense. Tom Brady had to sit there for a year plus before he got his opportunity. Cam did not leave the door open. And hopefully, Greg, you didn't either. If not, the Amazon dude upstairs somewhere, can your Nutter Butters up. Coming up, the preseason is over, which means Cowboys Bucs is right around the corner. I tell you, who is the biggest threat to Tampa in the NFC? But first, 49ers swap quarterbacks during the same possession on Sunday. I'll tell you if that's going to work in the regular season. Next, don't speak for yourself. You ain't got no milk up in here, Greg. Let's head to the Bay Area, where they're trying to nickname it Trey Area, I guess. Well, Kyle Shanahan got really creative in San Francisco's final preseason game. The 49ers' fifth-year coach swapped Jimmy Garoppolo and rookie Trey Lance in and out during the 49ers' first two drives on Sunday. It seemed to work with both drives resulting in rushing touchdowns, one for each quarterback. Here's how Shanahan explained it. Take a listen.
We got two guys who can play, and well, we've been doing it in practice a little bit, wanted to do it out there in the game, and I think it's always going to be an option.
Buggy Brooks and Greg Jennings are back. So, Greg, are the 49ers mishandling their quarterback situation?
No, I don't think they're mishandling the situation. I don't mind them using both guys. What I saw yesterday, I'll be honest, I did not care for that. The alternating in and out in the midst of a drive or a series. It's just challenging. And I get what Kyle Shanahan is trying to do. And I said this weeks back, like, he's an offensive genius. So he wants to keep the pressure on every defense that he plays, letting them know that, look, this is an opportunity for you to not lock in on one guy, or this is an opportunity for us to capitalize on the fact that you think we're going to just come out here with one guy under the helm. However, you got to start to look at things internally, and you start with yourself. And when I look at self, if I'm on this offense and I'm a receiver or I'm an offensive lineman, it's hard to establish a rhythm, starting with the cadence. Quarterbacks have different types of cadence. It's fine when you give them a complete series and say, this is your series. But when you start rotating them like we rotate, we see receivers going in and out, and you have their voice under center. Their feel is different under the center. Their cadence is different. All the rhythm, all the continuity, it feels different. There's no real opportunity for anyone to gather a rhythm or get into sync. And I know the novice fan is looking at it like, oh, yeah, well, they're just running plays. But this is how Kyle Shanahan thinks. And I believe that this is his psyche right now. He believes he has two quarterbacks that can get the job done. And what he's showing and what he showed yesterday was that it is about the system. It's not about the individual. And so you have players that understand that. And if they completely buy in, it works. If you have one player that does not buy in, it blows up. And it's not just about the quarterbacks. It's about every person, all 11 guys buying into the fact that it's going to be a revolving door if this is the decision and the way that he decides to go. I don't mind it. I didn't like what I saw yesterday. I think you can win alternating guys in series, and they both provide something, and you're going to put pressure on defenses, but you got to be leery how you do it.
I'm with you, Greg. I know what you're trying to say right there. You got to be leery because this is fake football. So no, they're not mishandling it right now. This is the time to experiment. This is a glorified practice. It's preseason, but it's about to get real. Them bullets are going to be real. And when it gets real, you can't be doing this fake stuff right here. And that's the problem. Kyle Shanahan needs to speak the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth, but he out here lying. I thought that Jimmy G only was in jeopardy just because of injury. Y'all got to remember, Jimmy G is an all-time winner, not just a normal, traditional winner. Like 1 year as a starter, fully healthy, takes you to the Super Bowl. All-time winner. Only issue is he's not reliable because he's injured. He's injury prone. We get it, Kyle. That's fine. Move up in the draft and grab an insurance policy. But Jimmy G right now, he ain't hurt. Jimmy G right now is not injured. And you got an all-time winner there, and you don't want to use him up because of what? Trey Lance is looking good. Trey Lance is looking great. Oh, I could keep defenses on their heels because I have two guys that could play the position. I'm going to tell you what Devin the Dude said. Sometimes you can give up for show, for mo, and end up with no. Now, y'all go find that song and understand what he's talking about, and it applies to this situation right here. You could get too cute in these situations, and you want the best of both worlds and might end up with nothing at all. Let me talk from a defender's perspective. This is why the Wildcat went away, because as a defender, you're sitting there at first respecting fully the Wildcat. Oh, man, no matter who the quarterback is, this is a running back, it's a quarterback, I don't care. We're going to fully respect it as a defense. But then about a few seconds later, you're like, man, I ain't tripping off this dude because he can't throw, he can't run, et cetera, et cetera. So you start to hone in. Y'all don't get this because a lot of people didn't play pro football. As Greg said, you're sitting at home, the novice, like, what? It's just a play. Who cares about continuity? Break it down to you like this. You ever walk into a room that you've never been in before? First 5 seconds of that room, you're quiet, trying to figure out what's this room like, reading the room. Don't want to use all your weapons at first, right? About 10 minutes in, you dog cursing people. You comfortable, the shoulders down, you just chilling. That's the same thing a defense is going to see once we see the real version of this and start to realize, oh, he only runs these plays and he only runs these plays. Then we're going to circle in, we're going to smell blood in the water, and we're going to attack. Kyle Shanahan better be careful because when it gets real, this is going to seem real fake.
Oh, no. This is straight from the pages of the NFL history book. I don't know if you guys, maybe you guys are too young to really understand this, but back in 1971, the great Tom Landry did this with Craig Morton and Roger Staubach all the way to a Super Bowl victory with the Dallas Cowboys. In fact, he alternated Morton and Roger Staubach every other play in a game against the Chicago Bears to success. And so when I'm looking at Kyle Shanahan, I'm saying, okay, I see what you're doing. You got both of these guys in there. And Marcellus, you're saying, oh, once you figure out, hey, when this guy's in, they only run these plays. And when this guy's in, they only run these plays. But imagine if you speed up the game and you run a little tempo with that, where you reason and season trying to get to the line of scrimmage, you can't really figure out who is in the game. What Kyle Shanahan is doing, he's putting defensive coordinators on notice. Look, you can talk about this Wildcat thing if you want to, but trade area can throw. And so now you got to worry about that part of it to go with Jimmy Garoppolo, who is a winner. I love the fact that he is thinking outside of the box, putting both quarterbacks on the field, allowing both guys to get experience and do it, because now every quality control guy is in the room cursing because he has to stay up all night charting all these plays that Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo are in, and for a running game that is already complex and tough to defend. When you throw Trey Lance in every other play, it creates a nightmare. You saw the touchdown. I love this from Kyle Shanahan. I think is one of the reasons why we celebrate him as an offensive genius.
Oh, Bucky and Kyle Shanahan. Okay, now I'm starting to see the resemblance because you just said something that Kyle Shanahan would say, and most people wouldn't catch this, but I do because I'm a great listener. We're going to throw Trey Lance in there. No, you ain't. You're going to run Trey Lance in there because last time I checked, Trey Lance can't throw. 46.3% completion percentage in the preseason against backups. You know what they call that in baseball? Under the Mendoza line. That means, man, you don't even qualify to be in the conversation of being a passer until you can get that at least over 50%, and he hasn't done that just yet. So you know what we're going to see? We're going to see him out there running the football, trying to set up some short passing or some bootleg, some option running, all the stuff we've seen. We need to see more if we're going to really respect what Trey Lance can do under center. Well, Jimmy Garoppolo, he can do it all, maybe not to the level you desire, Kyle Shanahan. I don't know why, because the results can't be refuted. Once again, fourth best winning percentage since 1970. Bucky wants to take us to 1971. I'm old enough to take you to 1970. Only behind Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, and Tom Brady in terms of win percentage. Dog, be real about this. We ain't even got to sit up here and argue. Two things stand out to me. One, if you got a guy who wins at that level, just use him up if the only issue really is his injury concerns. And two, let the quarterback go out there and have the ability, as Greg said, to self-correct. You played the game, Bucky. In the first quarter, you make a mistake, and you're sitting there like, oh, when I get this opportunity again in the third quarter, oh, I'm going to make them pay for it. How about this, Bucky? Under Kyle Shanahan's system, you won't be out there in the third quarter. You don't know when you're going to be out there. You won't get that same opportunity to self-correct. To me, this is going to undermine itself, and it's going to eat its own.
Oh, Marcellus, you fell right into that because I know you're a guy who appreciates the finer things in life. I know that you like nice cars and those things. So you know what's better than one Maybach? Two. So what you do is you alternate days. So when you have an opportunity to have two nice, luxurious cars, you get in both of them. Some of them you go during the week, but then there's your Saturday and Sunday car because, you know, Saturday and Sunday we may head down PCH. That's a different kind of shine that we want to attract on ourselves. So what Kyle Shanahan is doing, he's saying, hey, man, I got a nice quarterback in Jimmy Garoppolo, but I got this other thing right here, this vet that we may just take out on the weekend. Look, I can't ride it to work. It's not my commuter, but it's that thing that I want every now and then. If I was young enough to still pull up to the club, maybe I would have that go to valet. So maybe Kyle Shanahan is channeling the inner bachelor pad and saying, you know what? I think I'm going to unveil this Trey Lance on them and let them feel me. Let them see how I get down. And when you see the way that that offense operated against the Raiders, it was successful. So you know what you do? Now you pull up to the spot the next week doing the same thing with a little more shine and shimmer. And so I believe this is something that we're definitely going to see in the regular season. So we actually get used to it.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna see it, and we should get used to it. I just prefer it not be every other snap. But I will say this: this is what Kyle Shanahan is looking at it like. Like every offensive coordinator, every defensive coordinator is trying to create an offensive and a defensive advantage. How else can you better do that when you have the person running the offense who is interchangeable at any moment of the game or any drive that you want say, you know what, let's go with Trey right here. They won't be ready for that. Teams automatically know they have to prepare for multiple receivers or running backs. That is known. But when you have to prepare, to your point, Bucky, and this is why it is going to be crucial for all 11 guys to buy in. Sitting down with Kyle Shanahan, even over last year, he harped on how great and how excellent it was to work with the guys that he had, because they were all sold and they were all in on what we were trying to get accomplished as a team, as a offensive unit. If that remains the case, I do believe this works like a charm. You can do it and perform it however you would like. But I also believe that he is under the notion that, you know what, it keeps my quarterbacks sharp. It keeps my quarterbacks on their toes. It's going to keep Jimmy Garoppolo like really pressing the envelope and not being in relaxation mode, just relying on, you know what, I'm just going to turn around and hand it off. No, you're going to make that play, because he challenges his quarterbacks to push that ball down the field. He wants to see that. So when you don't have as many opportunities, or you don't know when the opportunity is coming, you're going to take a shot that you ordinarily wouldn't take, because you feel like, I got time. I got another series. But that is going to be unknown. So we're going to see a lot of quarterbacks in this system, or the two that we know, taking chances, and we're going to see who's making those plays.
Man, Greg is we're up here preaching right now. Speak to him, Greg. This is what I talked to a few of those USC running backs when they had the running back by committee and the carousel. And every time they got in there, you know what their mindset was? I got to score, because I don't know how many more touches I'm going to get. But you know what the problem is? If you go out there and trying to score, all you're doing is bouncing out. And we know that as a defense as well. You got to go set us up. But you're not going to give these quarterbacks time to set you up. But Jimmy Garoppolo is interested in his mindset. He's been the whipping boy for so long that he's just going to fall in line. Y'all know Jimmy G. He knows that he's auditioning for his next opportunity. So he's going to allow them to do these things, and he's not going to say anything, and he's going to be the company man. But the problem with it is, it's just too cute. It's just too cute. Y'all ever do something too cute? All right, Bucky, we're going to use your 2 cars. First of all, that's a bad purchase right there, having multiple cars. I got 1 Tesla. That's all you need. Trust me, you can do it all that way. But in your example, you try to make it different than it really is. Greg nailed it. It's going to be like every other snap. That's different. That's like you got the Maybach, and you're like, all right, I'm about to go to the beach, all right, about to go meet up with them, right? So you're on the 405 with the Maybach, then you're about to get on the 10, then you say, let me pull over. Let me now jump into the vet from the 10, then let me stop, let me pull over. We on PCH in the Maybach, then we get to valet. I'm in the vet in valet, and then you finally say, where they at? Where the girls go? They're like, nah, they Ubered home, bruh. We took too damn long. Coming up, Lamar Jackson and Baker Mayfield are arguably the 2 best quarterbacks in the AFC North. That happened to me before. But we'll tell you which team is better, Ravens or Browns. Next on Speak for Yourself. Look, you doing too much. Just show up. Thursday night, the reigning Big Ten champs kick off their season in prime time at number 4. Ohio State takes on Minnesota. 7:30 Eastern on Fox and the Fox Sports app. The Ravens won their record 20th straight preseason game Saturday. But Baltimore lost starting running back J.K. Dobbins for the season with a torn ACL. The division rival Browns also won their preseason finale, and Baker Mayfield looked good, going for 113 yards and a touchdown in his 2 series to start the game. Bucky Brooks is back with us, and we're joined now by Fox NFL analyst T.J. Houshmandzadeh, who wants to race me. We'll see about that. So, T.J., which AFC North team is better, the Browns or the Ravens?
It's hard to pick a team and feel like you're picking the wrong team here, but I'm going with the Cleveland Browns. I really feel like, especially with J.K. Dobbins going down with the knee injury, trading Orlando Brown, baby Zeus to the Chiefs, bringing in Zeitler from the Giants and Villanueva from the Steelers, they got to form that cohesiveness up front. Until Baltimore, we know Baltimore can run the ball. They lose Judon to the Patriots. Baltimore is going to have to consistently show us that they can win games through the air. And they can. Lamar led the league in touchdown passes. But the Cleveland Browns, their roster, when you go from the front to the back, they have no weaknesses on the offensive side of the ball. OBJ's coming back. You got Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt. Tight ends can play, and Hooper. They have so many weapons. Defense. Now you got Garrett and Clowney. Say what you want about Jadeveon Clowney not getting sacks, but he's a beast on the run. They signed John Johnson from the Rams. The Browns just have a complete roster from top to bottom. And Baker Mayfield is going to come into his own this year. And so I have to go with the Cleveland Browns, but I don't believe you can pick a wrong team deciding between the two.
Hey, look, man, I can't disagree with TJ on the Browns and all the love that he gave them because they definitely are talented. And if I was playing Madden, I would probably pick up the sticks and play with the Browns because they probably have a 99 rating. That said, look, we're playing real football.
Hey, Bucky,
and it doesn't really matter.
They don't have a 99 rating. Man did them dirt.
Real.
I'm sorry,
but because man, they have everything. They have everything that you want on paper. But the problem is the Baltimore Ravens, in reality, are a team that gets it done. And it doesn't really matter who plays at running back because when I look at the running game that the Ravens present, as long as Lamar Jackson is there, it's the number one rushing offense. It doesn't matter if it's Mark Ingram, J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, me, you, Marcellus. We all going to eat because everyone is focused on number 8. The difference between the Ravens and the Cleveland Browns, it really comes down to the quarterback. I've seen Lamar Jackson play at an MVP level. I've never seen Baker Mayfield play at a high level like that. And even though the pieces around him are terrific and the defense has been upgraded with nice names, I still don't know if that defense is better than the defense that we've seen play at a high level in Baltimore. And I'm saying that fully acknowledging that they just lost Matt Judon and some other pieces on that unit.
Yeah, man, this feels like a fence ride for me as well. I'm going to be real about this. You know how much I love me some Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. But that said, it seems like the universe is agreeing with you, TJ. It seems like it's the Cleveland Browns just because of the lack of injury concern that you've seen so far in this offseason and preseason. Yeah, Steven Carlson is likely done for the season. Mack Wilson got the little shoulder, but we're not talking about the same level. We're not talking about J.K. Dobbins. We're not talking about Rashad Bateman having his groin surgery, et cetera, for this team. Marlon Humphrey dealing with the groin as well. There's a lot of injuries over there. But it's so crazy that that's the narrative that always was presented to undermine the Baltimore Ravens. But the injury concern was at the quarterback position. Even though we have not seen my man Lamar Jackson miss but one game since his freshman year in college. But everyone always talks about injuries with them. But as long as Lamar Jackson is standing, it seems like the Baltimore Ravens will be standing. This is 3 years if you look back to when he first got his start. That was a 10-win season. Then you go to a 14-win season and an 11-win season, where Baker Mayfield only has one winning season under his belt. So Baker Mayfield does not reach the same level as Lamar Jackson. But what's surrounding them? Obviously, you have to give the nod to the Cleveland Browns. This is a tremendous roster, top to bottom. Baker Mayfield just doesn't have to be the engine, just has to go along for the ride and do what he needs to do and be strategic and smart about it. That said, my answer really is the Cleveland Browns. But in reality, it's a quarterback-driven league, and at the most important position, I would have to put my money on Lamar Jackson saying, yeah, more on your shoulders, but you're capable of doing more as well.
And it's what you just said also earlier. The Cleveland Browns, they just have a talented roster.
Yeah.
And a lot of times this doesn't matter, but the Ravens have the second toughest schedule in the league. And some of those teams may or may not be good, but going into the season, second toughest schedule. The Browns had a ninth toughest schedule. So that will also play a part in it. And you talk about Rashad Bateman. I believe they were counting on him. Baltimore can throw the ball. They just have to feel comfortable letting Lamar do that. And so if they want to evolve as an offense, what they should do is just say, whether we win or lose, we need to see what we can and cannot do via the passing game consistently, because we know when we need it, we can run it, but we don't know when we need it if we can pass it consistently. And so that's the thing. And Baker, he was the first pick for a reason. Everybody gets on him. The media bashes him because of that. He was the first pick for a reason. He will jump his game. His game will get better this year because of the confidence, if he even needs it, that he's going to be playing with, because like you said, the Browns have a roster and they have plenty of players around him that can help.
Now, TJ, I can't let you get off with that. He's the number one pick for a reason, because I know you sat there and played with many wide receivers that might have been taken before you, but you sat there and looked at them and said, they're not better than you. So I'm not going to let you get away with
Pass
draft
them
position
things.
dictating that someone is a good player. I will say he's a good player within this system, but I don't know if he can play at an MVP level. At some point, when you're talking about a Super Bowl run, Baker Mayfield is going to have to put that offense on his back, maybe 4 or 5 games just to do it. I'm not saying that he's incapable of doing it, but to date, we haven't necessarily seen him do that. So the difference for me is he is a bit of an X factor in terms of what are we going to get from him. And then the guy that you mentioned, Jadeveon Clowney, the guy who is the greatest that never was, he is an outstanding athlete, a disruptive run defender, but the sack production, it doesn't happen. And so when Myles Garrett is out there waiting to dance with his playmate, I don't know if the playmate can dance. And so that is the difference for me. I love the name, and the name is great in video games, but I just don't know if in reality we will get the production that matches what he is supposed to be.
Damn, Bucky went there. Well, I'm going to go with you, too, Bucky. I don't want you to be alone when you go there. Oh, man. I was listening to TJ, too, say that, well, he is number one for a reason. I was like, boy, stop. You know damn well there's 2 questions you ask about any prospect. It's almost like the real estate questions. Somebody talking about their house, you say, tell me about it. How nice? Give me all the numbers and stuff and the specs. Then you say, where is it? Location, location, location. It's not how nice Baker Mayfield is, because we ain't really seeing that much out of him, like 2.5 bedroom, 1.25 bath, no backyard. But guess what?
We don't want that house.
Guess where it's located? In Cleveland right now with all that personnel. Prime Bel Air, prime Beverly Hills. He has everything you need surrounding him. So you're going to tear it down and then say, let's build it up because of the location. With Baker Mayfield, you don't need him. You don't really need him to do much, if anything. Just don't mess this up. This is a running game. This is the defense. And Baker Mayfield has made plays as well. But I look at the situation in Baltimore. These are the ways and the reasons I think they can improve. You got to remember that their pass offense was last year. Last, not second to last, dead last. Last in passing percentage as well, and 28th in penalties. Bring all that to say, be more disciplined. Now you've been nudged, if not forced, to start to look at the passing game a little more. You drafted in the first round at that with Rashad Bateman. More importantly, the injury to Dobbins now says, look, we're going to have to nudge you in terms of going out there and throwing the football. And if you go from last to anything in the mid 15, 20 something mid NFL level, just be average, guess what? You start to look at a team that won 11 games being last in passing as a team that still could be 11, 12 win team and still find itself in position for the playoffs. So they got to look at it, maybe have to recalculate how they go about this situation. But in terms of what Baker Mayfield is versus Lamar Jackson, that's not really a fair comparison. But in team totality, I understand what you're saying right there, TJ. They do have a squad in Cleveland, and that's going to be something to be reckoned with. Coming up, Tom Brady called the Cowboys a good team. But which NFC team is good enough to knock off the Bucs this season? We'll answer that next. Don't speak for yourself. What I have work. NFL season kicks off next Thursday with a blockbuster matchup when Tom Brady and the reigning champion Bucs host Dak Prescott and the Cowboys. Brady acknowledged that playing in the first game means you did something good and even gave a nod to the Cowboys saying, quote, it's good to start the season against a good team. Greg Jennings and TJ Houston's are back with us. So, Greg, in the battle of receivers, who is the biggest threat to the Bucs in the NFC?
Oh, you going Greg or you calling me Buck? Yeah, I mean, it's Bucky. Buck try to take it, though. I'll take this. I'll take this, though. I'm going to go with the Seattle Seahawks. And then the reason I'm going to go with the Seattle Seahawks is because I believe, one, you got a quarterback who's at an MVP level in Russell Wilson. You have an offense that still has some weapons around it in DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett. You have a new offensive coordinator, Shane Waldron, who's coming over, who is actually going to help Russ play at a high level because they're going to run the ball, but they're going to do some of that Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay type stuff, play action, to make the game easy for Russell as he plays more under center than in shotgun. And then defensively, Jamal Adams, Bobby Wagner, and then Carlos Dunlap. I think they're good enough to create some problems for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That said, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have a loaded squad, but I do believe in a one-game scenario, the Seattle Seahawks definitely can go toe-to-toe with them.
Seattle Seahawks? Oh, God. That's what we're doing right here. Let's just be real about that. Seattle Seahawks, last time we saw them on the football field when it mattered most, Russell Wilson wasn't looking too good. and that team lost. Russell Wilson had one of his worst playoff performances ever, and the second half collapses really troubled me with that team. No, I'm going to go Packers and Rams and then get off the fence and say it's really the Rams. And it's more so because of the imagination, the collective imagination of those players on that team. Just think, last year you were out there watching in the playoffs Jared Goff and John Woodford. Yes, Mr. Woodford Reserve himself. Out there being your quarterback, and you're going against Aaron Rodgers, and you find yourself in the playoffs, you find yourself in a divisional game, but you're like kind of outmatched in this situation. Introduce Matthew Stafford to this offense. And then you now have a unification between Matthew Stafford, the talent on this roster, and Sean McVay and his genius. Oh, if you're on that team right now, you're thinking the sky's the limit. So I know that the Packers have been to consecutive NFC championship games, but at the same time, they were in a fight, small dog fight, with the Rams that had one hand tied behind their back, according to their personnel moves. Now you introduce Matthew Stafford to all this talent that the Rams possess. I think it's the Rams to beat.
This is almost crazy. I'm sitting here when I saw this question, and people, just for the audience, me and Marcellus have not talked. Oh. I said the Packers and the Rams, but it's the Rams.
Ah, there it is.
True story. And I'm such a believer in Matthew Stafford. And people, oh, he played with Calvin Johnson in Detroit. He had Indomitian. Matthew Stafford with Sean McVay, it's going to be scary. And they have downfield threats now with Deshaun Jackson. Maybe the rookie Tutu Atwell will get some time. The Rams are the biggest threat to the Bucs just because Sean McVay is that great of a coach, and now he has a quarterback that physically can do everything he wants, but also mentally can do everything that he wants. And this is another key that people aren't talking about. That defense is still that defense. They still have Aaron Donald. They still have Jalen Ramsey. So they can play. And so when you add that defense along with what Matthew Stafford is going to bring to the table, I have to go with the Los Angeles Rams.
Wait, hold on. So Matthew Stafford is going to take them to the next level. The guy who has 0 playoff wins, the guy who only has 4 winning seasons that he's orchestrated and engineered during his time in Detroit. I'm supposed to believe that he is going to be the next level guy to help them level up, even though we've never seen him level his own team up. That doesn't make any sense to me. And then when I think about the running game, they lost Cam Akers. They brought, Fly Guy 2-Stack, Tony Michel. They bring him over, but he can't stay healthy. And so we know this offense is predicated on their ability to run the ball. And last time I checked, I feel like I'm Nipsey Hussle. Last time I checked, I looked at defensive coordinator. It's Raheem Moore. It's not Brandon Staley. So even though he has the same pieces, they may call the game differently. Man, we're giving the Rams a lot of credit. If we're playing a spade game, y'all got too many possibles to be going out there and we're going to get 8, 9 books. Too many. I want to play y'all. I want to play y'all at the picnic.
Oh,
they still got the same players, Buck.
Yeah, they do got the same players. Buck. And you got to respect this too, Bucky. Like, one take ago, you tell me that Cleveland inflates Baker Mayfield, right? Because of the personnel and everything around him. But then now you don't want to understand how Detroit may have deflated what Matthew Stafford was in terms of what was around him.
It's just like the Hall of Fame.
Look, Calvin Johnson's one player. He's one receiver. And you don't, look, a quarterback and just one receiver ain't going to get the job done. Ask DeAndre Hopkins with Deshaun Watson how that felt. Like, it's not enough. You need more pieces than just that. So I'm looking at this situation. They have the same personnel. Number 1 defense. They're going to call it differently, but hopefully they're still a top 5, top 10 defense. But more importantly, let's just talk about how the offense was in decline year after year with Jared Goff. And that's the problem right there. Not only the interceptions and the turnovers, but the fact that they were in decline in terms of their ranking. So now you get a better offense and a comparable defense. That means you got a better team. This team was playing Green Bay last year in the playoffs. This team can go further in advance. I still think it's going to be the Bucs that's going to win the NFC. But we're talking about a contender, a viable contender. We can't reach in the bag and say Seattle. And that was a team that didn't even go as far as the Rams. But now we're going to look at this situation and say Rams can't do it. You got to remember, when you're in that locker room, a lot of it is about the will. A lot of it's about your confidence level. And they're going to be greater believers in Matthew Stafford than they were in Jared Goff.
I mean, it's simple. We're talking a playoff game. And Sean McVay started Wolford over Jared Goff. Just call it what it is. He didn't have the confidence in Goff. The team didn't have the confidence. There was absolutely no way he could bring them back. And anybody that knows football knows Matthew Stafford is one of the best pure throwers in the NFL. And that's in any quarterback in the league. He can throw it with any of them. But what people don't realize, and I've gathered this information from people that are within the round, Matthew Stafford is smart. I know people see McVay telling Goff what to audible to. He doesn't have to do that with Stafford. Stafford can do that on his own. He's that smart of a guy upstairs. And I think people look at his physical attributes and forget mentally he's just as good.
All right, now. I hear y'all. Y'all guys are ready to go on Sean McVay. Sean McVay is the greatest to ever do it. But yet, I see him keep dismissing all these players. Jared Goff takes him to the Super Bowl. When the offense doesn't work, he gets rid of him. Todd Gurley helps him go to the Super Bowl, wins Offensive Player of the Year. Something goes wrong, he gets rid of him. At some point, we got to look at the guy with the pen. Maybe the people have caught up with those schemes, all the jet sweep, all the 11 personnel and all those things. We can keep changing the lounge chairs, but the cruise ship is the same. At some point, Sean McVay is going to have to show us that he can evolve. He was great early, 2017, 2018. But after the New England Patriots put their hands on them, the Rams offense has not been the same. We're talking about Jared Goff and all these other things. This is the year that we're going to see. If Sean McVay is who we think he is, then they'll be right there with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But if not, we're going to have to call him a pretender because he has not been able to do it the last couple of years. And he's thrown everybody else up under the bus. So Matthew Stafford and all of these great offensive weapons that you guys are proclaiming, let's see. Right now, I'm not buying.
Man, that's how you look at it? When he got a Jared Goff who couldn't win a game as a rookie, 0-7? Hey, Jeff Fisher, say what you want about it. I thought he resuscitated the dude's career. He made something out of nothing in terms of Jared Goff in his career at that time. Now, all of a sudden, you discard him. Maybe he already knew his limits, but he was already inherited a #1 overall pick. Said, I got to get the most juice I can out of him before I got to let him go and get what I really want. Oh, Todd Gurley, my dog, respect to Todd Gurley, but at the same time, Todd Gurley came out of Georgia with knee issues, and everybody, even in their playoff run to the Super Bowl, they were mixing Todd Gurley in and out because of the injury concerns and issues with Todd Gurley. Don't act like now he just got rid of him. He was like not durable enough. That's not a slight to Todd Gurley to the fullest. 11 wins, 13 wins, 9 wins, and 10 wins. No losing seasons. Oh, yeah, they done caught up to you, Sean McVay. They done really caught up to your winning butt. No, they have not. He been doing all this winning with one hand tied behind his back. Oh, you watch out, Bucky. You better duck because that other hand about to swing this year. Coming up, a former Patriot player said Cam Newton's dancing is a distraction and then immediately had to walk that back. We'll break it all down next on Speak for Yourself. Yeah. TikTok. Patriots radio analyst Scott Zolak apologized for his criticism of Cam Newton last week. Zolak, who played for the Patriots from 1992 to 1998, said he spoke to Cam and that the current Patriots quarterback, quote, handled it perfect. And his quote, nothing but class. Here's what Zolak said on radio last week that required the personal apology. Take a listen.
I turn off the rap music, first of all, because I think it's distracting for Cam here. Because in between every throw, he's dancing. But he can't help himself to where Mac looks like he came to work again. Like he's here to work. And everything's attention to detail. I can't, but again, is that style?
What is I was going to say, is that atypical? That none of this sounds atypical from Cam.
Nothing different. Yeah. Nothing different.
Okay, Fox NFL analysts and former players Bucky Brooks and Greg Jennings are back with us. So, Bucky, what's your reaction to Scott Zolak apologizing for saying Cam's distracted by rap music?
Well, I mean, I think Scott Zolak should understand how the game has evolved and how things have evolved. When you go to games, you hear all the music. It's entertainment. It's part of the deal. We see these college coaches and high school coaches pumping music into practices, not only to energize practice, but to create distractions so guys can better focus amidst the distraction of playing a game. Because in the stadium, I'm sure Scott Zolak has played. He played for a long time. He has to understand, hey, crowds boo. There's noise. There's cannons going off. There's all kinds of stuff. And you still have to be able to lock in. Now, as a coach, I would say, hey, Cam is a little much. He's going to do his own thing. But we've always had teammates that were kind of like that kind of did their own thing and brought some own undue or unnecessary attention to themselves. But if Cam Newton balls like he has always balled throughout his career, you just kind of have to know this is how he gets down. You have to accept him for who he is, because that's a huge part of his game, and that's a huge part of how he is able to play at a high level when he does do that.
Yeah. Oh, this is a deep one right here. I don't know what part of the pool to jump in. You know what? Do I go to the shelf where the kiddies are and just get my feet wet? Do I go into the deep end, get my hair wet? I don't know, but I'm just going to sit here and analyze this from afar. Here's the thing. I played against Scott Zolak as well. I remember him as a backup in New England. Now, here's the craziest thing about this. I got to go and glorify myself. I'm one of the first, some say the pioneer, that actually introduced rap music to the NFL stadium. You want to know why? True story. I'm a DJ, and I've been a DJ since 1997. And when I first started DJing as a rookie in Buffalo, noticed that all of our warm-up music was the same, kind of like pop, rock, U2, Bon Jovi, etc. And I was like, where's the rap music? So I talked to our stadium director, and I said, hey, can we get some real music up in here? He said, what's real music? We're playing real music. I said, real music to us, like that we could get energetic about, we could get pumped up about. And it wasn't based on ethnicity and color and background. It was the music we were listening to. So then he was like, yeah, sure, as long as it's clean, here we go. So I start mixtaping, DJing actual stadium songs for our stadium. And then all of a sudden you started to hear other players from other teams coming in as visitors. Buffalo rocking, Buffalo rocking. Next thing you know, you go to their stadium. They're rocking. They took the formula, replicated it all around. Thank you for that moment. Here's the thing about this situation, though. There's a layer of this that feels a little racist, a little bit of it. Let's be real. You're out there talking to the Boston media and how that can be played out. You're talking about a black player, how that could play out. You're talking about rap music, which is not monopolized by black people, but it's a large majority. We know how that could play out. And as you said, Bucky, in today's society, you got to know that this car is going to go downhill real fast without brakes by putting all that together and saying rap music. That said, I don't fully get this as a racist statement. What I get from this is a resentful statement, a statement made by a backup who resents the starter. Remember, when you're a player, y'all know how this goes, Bucky. Y'all know how this goes when you're in that locker room. Greg, the starter, the man, controls the music. So when you're not the man, you're mad at the music. So now I'm looking at a backup, a perennial backup, who's now just mad at the music. He ain't mad at what the necessary lyrics are and anything. He thinks that this is why Cam Newton is not performing up to task. Let me tell the backup that's not why Cam Newton's not performing up to task. We're able to compartmentalize as players. On the way to the stadium, we could have an argument with the wife. We could be stuck in traffic. The kids could be tripping and yelling at us as well. We got ticket requests. We could walk in there and Greg still go for 197 yards. We are able to put everything in its proper bucket. But I always go back to this statement that nobody cares about what you're doing until you're not doing what you're supposed to. And Cam Newton last year didn't do what he was supposed to. So now you hear all the resentment coming out in different forms and fashions. That long soliloquy said, I don't think this was full racism, any regard, but he knew how this would land, and that's why he had to walk it back.
Well, for me, it was flat out just unnecessary and disgusting. I think it was racism. That's my own shared belief, and this is why, for me, when I listen to the statement that was made from Scott Zolak, it's just a lack of awareness. When we talk about individuals in any field, the way that they operate, as long as the desired outcome, what you're talking about, Marcellus, the performance, renders what we all want to see, if we get it done, we get to the same destination, why do I care how you go about getting there? That's the problem when we see we can look in our own homes. We get into trouble when we try to make other people do it the way we've always done it, or the way we've always seen it done. You see how he compared what Cam Newton looks like going to business in comparison to Mac Jones. Mac Jones is all business. Why? Because he's not dancing? So you're automatically putting your perception on Cam Newton's not business because he's doing it and it looks different. This is the issue in our society, because we always have a way that we think it should be, or the majority always has a way that they think it should look. And that is just not the case. It looks different because we have different experiences. We have different mindsets. We have different goals. We have different ways we get to the desired outcome. As long as Cam Newton gets under center and he knows what he's supposed to be doing, and he's asked the question and he can respond with the answer, why do I care how he came up with the answer? It is going to look different. We are different individuals, and when we consider that, then we can understand how to work together, and we can appreciate one another on a greater and a deeper level.
Okay, I appreciate that, Greg, because I was trying to avoid that part of it. But look, the language was certainly coded, because the codes came in as soon as you put rap music and Cam Newton, and then you talk about Mac Jones, and Mac Jones looks like he's professional. You're already insinuating that Cam Newton is not doing the right way. And then you have the hot button part when you put the rap, even though in our experiences, we've had many teammates of other races and ethnicities who know more of the words than we may know. And so that's the thing that boggles my mind, because I would also ask Scott Zolak this. When you go to the Red Sox game, are you worried about the walk-up music that some of their players may walk up to bat before they go swing in the middle of a game? Probably not. And so he knew what he was putting out there. He was putting the chum in the water for a part of the fan base that doesn't like Cam Newton, regardless of his play and all those other things. It's one of those things that certainly hits, and it kind of plays to the fan base that leans or skews to the coded language, and they kind of like that conversation because they're used to seeing their quarterback look and act a certain way.
Yeah, it was too intentional to be a misunderstanding. Give you that. He knew how this would land, supposedly, with his fan base out there, obviously. But it's so crazy that we have skipped a step. Like, he said what he said, and then the next thing we hear from him is an apology. But we really want to know what you meant. Like, that's the step that's lost in society right now. Like, what do you mean before? All right, we're going to take this apology, but before that apology, clarify. And we don't get to that place, right? Because now everybody is a survivalist, so you get the double tap from the boss, walk that back, a lot of pressure coming our way, a lot of bad PR, and you walk it back. But you were still out there Zolacking. What the hell did you mean, Scott? Why were you Zolacking, trying to say this in that coded way? That said, I don't know. I could be completely wrong, but I just think that this is when, it's like a Chappelle skit almost, like when you resent the starter that happens to be black. And it's just like, I don't know if he's mad at him because he's black or anything. He just is mad that the Patriots were bad last year. And then he sees a player having fun or entertained by music, and they're still not a good team just yet. So he's trying to put all this together and piece it together. But I think he misplaced some of those pieces. All I want to know simply is, you can't blame the music. Like, if Cam was bad last year, Cam was bad. It ain't got nothing to do with skin color. It ain't got nothing to do with what he listening to, what car he driving, what hats he wears, what clothes he puts on, all of his drip. It ain't got nothing to do with that. It has to do with, did he perform when he needed to perform? So, Greg, you took us to a place I guess we got our hair wet. So let's keep going. Let's keep swimming.
Yeah, we in the waters now, but you keep talking about the performance. And that, for me, I want to talk about that. Because as long as Cam Newton does everything that he's supposed to do, and he executes and he wins and everything looks great, I'll take whatever you do, Cam. Do it however you want to see it done, Cam. But the underlying issue is it's conditional. Things are conditional. People see things in a conditional way, in a format. And when it's unconditional, and this is why I believe Bill Belichick himself has taken a different type of affinity to Cam Newton, because a player who has been misunderstood almost his entire collegiate career and his professional career, and has had complaints like this, very similar, his entire career, because he's been misunderstood, because we have not spent time with Cam Newton, because you don't know Cam Newton, the individual. You know Cam Newton, the entertainer, the football player, the guy who's dancing, the guy who's wearing the towel over his head. But you don't know Cam Newton who goes home to his kids. You don't know Cam Newton who has real problems, who has issues just like we do, because we put conditions on people. We put people in one space and we judge them based on that. And if they don't look and operate the way that we feel like it should be operated and they should execute and function, then we have a whole lot to say, especially to your point, Marcellus, when things aren't happening when it comes to performance.
Yeah, it's a performance-based assessment. I went through the same thing. I bring up the DJ story, how I started that off in 1997. We went from Bon Jovi to Master P like that, clean versions, of course, and everybody was loving it. I used to DJ not only big events and festivals and Super Bowls, but the owner's party as well. I'm up there DJing. And then all of a sudden, I'm getting cut. And it wasn't because my DJing started to suck. It was because my sax and my production started to suck. Then they're like, look at this dude. He over here DJing and partying too much when we don't pay him for that. So Cam Newton has to learn this lesson in a performance-based assessment. When you out there doing what you're supposed to do, you can do whatever you want to do. But when that starts to slack, then you're going to have to deal with the people out there Zolacking and starting to come at you for different ways. Coming up, the Dolphins are reportedly interested in Deshaun Watson. Oh, we'll tell you what that means for Tua. Next, don't speak for yourself. Ooh, Greg, you went there. The Dolphins have reportedly emerged as frontrunners to trade for Texans quarterback Deshaun Watson. Brian Flores brushed off the report and voiced his support for current Dolphins starter Tua Tagovailoa, saying, quote, I am very confident in Tua. He has done a lot of good things. He has played well. My conversations with a player are going to remain between me and that player. Right. Bucky Brooks and Greg Jennings are back with us. So, Greg, should the Dolphins be very confident in Tua?
Yeah, they should. They drafted him in the first round. They got an opportunity to see what he was going to present last year. It didn't work out. It was year one. He was coming off a hip surgery. There's a lot of variables that played into why he wasn't the standout that we all wanted to see, or they even wanted to see. It's a rookie quarterback. It is hard to come into the National Football League and just continue to ascend the way we saw Tua Tagovailoa ascending at Alabama at such a high level. You get humbled. That is why you come into this game and you have to gain experience. And so what I think they've done this offseason is done everything to support him, to show him we're buying in on you. We're going to draft someone that you're comfortable with. We're going to put pieces around you and support around you that better helps you be all that we saw on film, all that we saw on the field at Alabama, and some of what we've saw even throughout practice. All of what he's done has not been bad. It's been his own psyche. And I think when you come off an injury the way that he came off, you're going to be timid. You're not going to be that player that you once were. Your body has to catch up to where you are. And more than anything, mentally, you have to be in a place where you believe I can actually be that player that I once was. And so I know that they believe that. And if Brian Flores is saying it, then you might as well bank on it because he's not going to give you any fluff.
No fluff at all. You should be very confident in Tua. I have to remind people out there in Miami how bad it was before Tua in terms of the quarterback carousel since Dan Marino days. Guys in and out. Even Ryan Tannehill has his ups and downs as a Miami Dolphin quarterback. So you need to trust in Tua. Whatever you want to say about his season last year, remember this. He was 6-3 as a starter. That's a winning quarterback in our league. And that was a winning quarterback who couldn't even trust himself physically as well as mentally, like Greg said. When you're coming off of a catastrophic injury like that, it takes about 2 years for you to trust your sixth gear. Like you have the sixth gear, but you just don't trust it. Can I go all out and my body will properly respond? So it becomes an issue mentally as well as physically. Still won 6 games under center, Tua did. And people say he was good. Some say average, some say very good. Whatever you want to think about it, it translated in a year where he was being timid. Now this year, you build around him. Now he has more continuity, he has more confidence, and he's going to go out there and continue to flourish. But also, Brian Flores is not the dude to mess with y'all. He tried to be nice with y'all. Don't forget this is the same Brian Flores. Y'all go back to the Kaepernick situation that happened in Miami. He was cutting through. He was keeping it 100 with his players as well. And he's trying his best to be PC, but he's also keeping it 100. First statement is, I'm confident in Tua. And everything else is between me and Tua. Y'all want to keep pushing back. So now today he has to report, quote, we want people with high character in the building. Okay, Deshaun Watson is going through his own trials and tribulations off the field that will impact some form, some fashion on the field, whether it's through penalty, suspension. We don't know just yet. But I think Brian Flores knows that he wants to ride going forward with his top 5 pick in his second year in Tua versus whatever's going on with Deshaun Watson. Y'all stop pressing this man, Brian Flores, because he's going to keep it 100 and it's going to get rawer and realer.
Hey, look, that's nice. And that's a nice play on words by Brian Flores talking about high character. But you and I both know in locker rooms, character has many definitions depending on the talent of the player. And so if Deshaun Watson is available and the Miami Dolphins take him, they will find a way to make it where Deshaun Watson might be viewed as a high character player for them. They may dig deeper in his past, talk about all the people that will be his advocates and all of those things to justify doing it. Because on the field, this isn't a close conversation. Deshaun Watson is an MVP caliber quarterback. Last year, on a sorry team, Deshaun Watson completed 70% of his passes, had over 4,800 yards, 33 touchdowns, only 7 interceptions, and a passer rating of 112. You put that in normal times on a team that is decent, we're talking about him in that conversation. So if this is a situation where they're trying to weigh and balance Deshaun Watson versus Tua Tagovailoa, the scales have to tip in Deshaun Watson's favor. However, if it is a real concern legally about whether they can bring him in, that is why they would go on with Tua Tagovailoa. But if this was a pick 'em between the two quarterbacks that we're talking about, Deshaun Watson would get the nod because he's a better player, and we've seen him be a better player at the NFL level.
Yeah, Marcellus, you said something when you were talking. You said about the Deshaun Watson situation, Brian Flores alluding to, we want high character players.
Yeah.
And a lot of us think immediately, oh, well, he's saying that Deshaun Watson, he's not speaking even to Deshaun Watson's situation. He's speaking to what he knows is in his locker room, period. Like, I know what I got into it. So why would I automatically get out of a relationship with something that I know and I trust and I can depend on, that is a constant right now, and I can support that and see what it actually blossoms into. Like, without giving something a chance, you never know how beautiful a thing can be. So Brian Flores is like, look, I came down here in the situation that was terrible, and we turned it all around. A lot of people didn't believe in what he was doing and how he was doing it, but now we're starting to see the vision. Because when somebody sets the vision, he has to have people to live out and facilitate that vision and execute that vision. Tua is a part of that vision. A guy who is going to be at quarterback that he feels like he can trust, that he feels like he can depend on, not just on the field. And I get it. If we're comparing apples to apples and talent on the field, yeah, Deshaun Watson is the guy. But if we're talking about the whole pie, which you have to identify in this situation, there's questions. There's too many questions when you talk about Deshaun Watson to bring him in that are unanswered, that are unknown. So why would you even entertain that?
Hey, look, I understand this, Greg, and I don't want you to get hit with this stray bullet that might have been meant for TJ Hushmanzada and Marcellus. But cover up. So I sat up here a couple of segments earlier, and I had to sit here and listen about Matthew Stafford and what Matthew Stafford would bring as an upgrade over Jared Goff. And, Matthew Stafford brings all this talent and all these other things. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to close your eyes and think about this Miami Dolphins team winning 10 games last year with Tua Tagovailoa and Ryan Fitzpatrick. And we're going to swap those guys out and put Deshaun Watson in there and watch him play. And we're going to say that on the field, that wouldn't be a much better team. Oh, no, I can't go with that. Now, we can talk about all of the stuff clouding the situation around Deshaun Watson. Yes, that is an issue, and that is an issue that has to be dealt with. However, if we're talking about playing the game, it's indisputable who is a much better player between Deshaun Watson and Tua Tagovailoa. And so if the Miami Dolphins are in the winning Super Bowl business, they have to kick the tires and investigate what Deshaun Watson could bring if they have to give up a handful of picks because, hey, they haven't been to the playoffs yet. I love what Brian Flores has done, but there's 0 playoff wins under the Miami Dolphins ledger with him as the leader. At some point, the Miami Dolphins fans they're going to want the Dolphins to go to the next level. Deshaun Watson can help them level up. I am not convinced that Tua Tagovailoa can level up because I haven't seen it on the field. And that's me being a Tua Tagovailoa advocate.
Well, let me be a devil's advocate and poke at the talent conversation since you want to be a Tua advocate. Tom Brady. Close your eyes, guys. Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers in terms of talent. Who was more talented? Oh, my God. It's not even really close if we're going to do a combine of talent. It's Aaron Rodgers. But one guy has 7 rings and one guy has 1 ring. Now, why do I bring that up? Because talent doesn't always translate. Deshaun Watson, yeah, he's more talented than Tua. But then we look at win percentage, and you start to look at why is Deshaun Watson just 3 games over 500, despite having 2 double wins? Oh, we're going to start blaming upstairs. Okay. We're going to start blaming purpose. Okay. I just want to remind you, talent doesn't always translate, and I'm not shooting at you, Deshaun Watson. But Brian Flores is. See, Greg, you got to understand what a muscular move is. Bucky was talking about that, like duck from these strays. A muscular move is going to have multiple effects. That means I'm going to pump Tua up, and I'm going to extinguish Deshaun talk right now by saying one thing. This is what I'm going to say. We want high character guys. Now, Deshaun Watson, up to whatever's going on in his life right now currently, had high character. We understand that. But this present moment, present time, it doesn't look that way. When the asking price is 3 first-rounders, when also he's going to come in, and then we don't know if he's going to be allowed to play or not. That's just too steep for a guy whose character has come into question, let's say, of late. Coming up, Trevor Lawrence was nearly perfect in the Jags' final preseason game. We'll tell you if Jacksonville, my old stomping ground, Duval, can make some noise this season. That's your place now, Bucky, huh? Next, don't speak for yourself. Bucky in the Jags. Trevor Lawrence gave his most impressive performance of the preseason in the Jacksonville Jaguars win over the Cowboys Sunday. Damn, 2 of my former teams. Look at that. Lawrence was nearly perfect, completing 11 of 12 pass attempts and throwing 2 touchdowns in just 3 series with the first-team offense. The Jags traveled to Houston to play the Texans in Week 1. TJ's back with us, but let's go to our Jags insider first. Oh, you ain't changed to the polo, the little Jaguar one? So, Bucky.
No. I keep it real.
We'll see. We'll hear if you're keeping it real. Will Trevor Lawrence's Jaguars make some noise this season?
Oh, absolutely. They're going to make some noise. It won't be big noise. They're not going to be playoff contenders, but they're going to make some noise because make no mistake about it, the quarterback is the real deal. Trevor Lawrence was the #1 quarterback in high school. Okay. He was the guy who went to Clemson immediately, led them to a national title. He's the #1 overall pick in the draft. And I learned from TJ, if you're the #1 overall pick, great things naturally happen because you're #1. So I'm going to say that that's what Trevor Lawrence is going to do. And when I looked at them play against the Dallas Cowboys, one thing that I understand, Urban Meyer is a quick study. What he did, he mixed some of what they did at Clemson, the Clemson playbook, with traditional NFL stuff, and they absolutely got into a rhythm. Now, I can acknowledge that when I looked at the Cowboys, I didn't recognize a lot of the names and numbers that were out there playing around, but that's neither here nor there. It is about how the quarterback played and how the quarterback looked. He looks like the real deal, and I believe the Jaguars will eventually have success with number 16 on the field.
No noise, Bucky. In that last segment, I did feel that stray bullet, by the way, that was meant for Greg. I felt that. But Trevor Lawrence will be solid because of he can play. But you look at Justin Herbert last year, and he had Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Hunter Henry, Austin Eckler. Trevor Lawrence doesn't have those guys playing with him. And so he'll make some noise, but I just hope it's some good noise. They play the NFC West, Rams, Cardinals, Niners, Seahawks, in the AFC East. So and in that division, the only games you would pick them to win would be the Houston Texans. So where are they going to get their wins from? They'll make some noise, but I don't know what type of noise you expect them to make. It's not going to be very good.
Yeah, here's the problem. I don't know what Bucky, look, I understand your employee or employment and you ain't got your polo on, but I know where your heart is. But 5-12, is that noise? Like, I don't know what kind of noise you expecting.
After you won one game?
Well, yeah. I mean, look.
15 last year.
I get it. Look, I think this year is to create the culture, and next year you look for the content. Like, right now, don't look for the content. Like, 5 games winning with Urban Meyer and the #1 overall pick. I've been in Jacksonville before. Obviously, they've never won a Super Bowl. They get excited over the little things. And this will be a little step in the right direction, but nothing to be too excited about until they start to build properly around him. As TJ mentioned, he doesn't have the weapons right now. We saw ETN go down, and now all of a sudden everything goes back to what it was before. But now you done spent the first-round pick on a guy who can't play this year. James Robinson is back. James Robinson looked good last year, but at the same time, it wasn't good enough for y'all not to go get a first-round running back. So now it's going to be Trevor Lawrence out there who can throw the football, who can play the game, but is going to have to take his lumps. Maybe I could give you an example of when we saw Peyton Manning his rookie year, because I got to face him twice that rookie year. 3-13 they were, 28 interceptions he was. And then our coach, Wade Phillips, our defensive coordinator, said, we better get him while we can because, boy, that's not going to be long. Next year, everything flipped. 13-3, and them boys was on their way. So maybe you can look forward to next year, and they'll be on their way. But right now in this situation, I can't see it, big dog. Coming up, the Bears are sticking with Andy Dalton. I'm going to say that again. The Bears are sticking with Andy Dalton, y'all. We'll tell you if Chicago will regret not starting Justin Fields. That's next. Don't speak for yourself. The Bears are sticking with Andy Dalton as the starter week 1 at the Rams. Justin Fields played well for the second straight week, earning Let's Go Fields chants from the Bears fans. But so far, Fields' play hasn't done enough to sway Coach Matt Nagy into starting the rookie quarterback. TJ and Greg Jennings are back with us. So, TJ, will the Bears regret starting Andy Dalton over Justin Fields?
Absolutely not. I don't believe they want Justin Fields staring at 99 week 1. 13 days from, they don't want him facing Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, and that Rams defense. They can go to Justin Fields whenever they want. How about week 2 with the Bengals? Week 3, you're probably going to take an L with Cleveland regardless of the quarterback. And then week 4, you play Detroit Lions where you have a great chance of winning. They have a lot of time with Justin Fields. But I'll say this. When it's a quarterback competition and if it's close, you should always go with the younger guy. But because they are playing the Los Angeles Rams week 1, and I believe they promised Andy Dalton this starting job. I truly believe that. They didn't believe they would have a chance to draft Justin Fields. And so Andy Dalton was promised. They're going to keep their word, but will they regret it? No, because they can bench him at any time.
Here's the problem with that. Don't make 2 bad decisions. You made a bad promise. You shouldn't have done that too early. And now you're going to keep your word. That's bad, too, in this situation. Yeah, they're going to regret starting Andy Dalton over Justin Fields. Let's put ourselves in that locker room. One, we know we're going to lose games with Andy Dalton. Why? Because that's what Andy Dalton does of late. 2-11 2 years ago. Last year with the Cowboys, despite having some talent over there, 4-5. Andy Dalton's not been the same for a few years, y'all. It's just writing on the wall in terms of his resume. That said, the worst part is not losing the games, Coach. It's losing our trust in you, our system, and how we go out there and put our personnel together. Last time I checked as a player, all I ask coaches is for an opportunity, and if I'm going to be greedy, to put the guy next to me that's best for that position. That's all I ask, Coach. We go do the rest. Put us in position, we can go do this. And you're not even going to do that? You're going to put Andy Dalton out there just because you want to keep your word? Are you kidding me? He's been outperformed. He's been outplayed. And more importantly, we have more confidence in the new quarterback because he can make plays with his legs. Andy Dalton going to get his head torn off by Aaron Donald week 1 because he ain't moving. He ain't going anywhere. At least Justin Fields has a fighting chance to survive whatever Aaron Donald and the Rams are going to do to him. I'm not trying to play nice guy NFL. I'm trying to put the best team out there, and the best team out there would have Justin Fields at quarterback.
Yeah, originally I was like, man, nah, they're not going to regret it. But the more and more I assess this situation, Yes, I do think they are going to regret it because you got to understand the window of opportunity that you're dealing with. Like, yes, the Chicago Bears made the playoffs last year with Mitchell Trubisky as your starting quarterback. Like, think about that. Let that marinate for a moment. Now you have an opportunity that you did not see. TJ, you mentioned it. They didn't know that Justin Fields would be available and they would be able to acquire him at the position in the draft that they did. So they did. Now you have him. And now you're still going to go to Andy Dalton, who has not been a proven guy in years. For me, the issue is where Marcellus was taking us. How are you going to sell that to Khalil Mack? How are you going to sell that to the guys on the other side of the ball defensively who have been your staple, who have been asked to go back out there and get it done, guys? Hold them one more time. Get it done one more time. These are the guys that you have to sell that to. And for me, if I'm on that defensive side of the ball, like, I'm not trying to experiment any longer. Like, put the young guy out there. We know what he's capable of doing. We know he's capable of giving us a little more spark, both throwing the ball as well as getting outside the pocket. Let's put our trust there. I would be willing to roll the dice there if I'm on that defensive side of the ball, who has been the catalyst for this Chicago Bears team for years lately.
Let's make sure we understand this. Justin Fields has been impressive in the preseason. He hasn't played against a starting level defense in the National Football League one snap.
Look, I don't give a damn who he played against. He looked better than Andy Dalton, who has played against some starters of late, and we haven't seen anything from him. Since 2015, that was the last time we saw Andy Dalton have a winning season. 2016, last time we saw him have a passer rating over 90. Over 90. We already saw that from Justin Fields in the preseason. Boy, stop. You ain't going to lose me. Put Justin Fields under center. Coming up, Patrick Mahomes topped the NFL Top 100 list, a list I was on twice, Top 50. I'll tell you my biggest issue with the Top 10 next on Speak For Yourself. We had no ceremony, though. Top 10 of the league's yearly Top 100 players. Patrick Mahomes tops this list, which includes 4 quarterbacks. Aaron Donald is second and one of 2 defenders in the top 10. Always dissing the defense. The Packers and Chiefs both have 2 players in the top 6. So, Greg, what's your biggest issue with the players' top 10 rankings?
Come on, man. This is the wide receiver. It's Devontae Adams. He got to be ahead of Travis Kelce, man. I got to give it to the nod. When you think about what's on the Kansas City Chiefs and why Travis Kelce, a phenomenal player, not knocking him, but he's on the field with and alongside Tyreek Hill. Devontae Adams is by himself. He was by himself last year. He got to be ahead of Travis Kelce. I'll flip-flop those 2. I don't have an issue with everything else.
I really don't even have an issue with what I have an issue with. But I'm going to mention Travis Kelce again like you did. I know George Kittle was hurt last year, but damn, players, y'all, I thought they were a buddy package, like the way that they were playing, like 1A, 1B at the position, and then I don't see his name anywhere. That said, that's it for us. See you tomorrow. Fox Bet Live is next.